Welcome to the GreatBase Tennis Podcast. I'm Steve Smith, along with Dave Anderson. Dave Anderson from Dallas. Dave, welcome.
Yeah, thanks. Glad to be here tonight.
I'm wearing a sweatshirt. Don't mess with Texas. Nice tennis family from Houston gave me the. Remember those commercials they used to have? Don't mess with Texas.
Oh yeah, I don't know if they still do or not, but yeah, it was pretty accurate, really. Texans thought they were their own country.
With Texas, I love Texas. One thing with Texans, they have the Bostonian mentality, greatest place on earth, missionary zeal. With I've heard college coaches say it's very difficult to recruit a Texas kid to play outside of Texas. Does that still hold true?
I think it used to. I don't think it is anymore as much. I just mainly nothing to do with Texas, but I think kids in general have, that mentality, a little bit of exploring mentality. I think from my perspective, but yeah, I think if you go back in the clock, I think that was definitely the case.
With we're talking U.S. Open, we're going to have Andy Fitzell on. We'll have to do it another time. He's in Dubai and doesn't have the best telephone or internet connection, but we can touch about his story. Also, another guest we'll have is Max Fomin, who's connected to the women's final. But one thing we try to do with these podcasts is help out tennis teachers. We tell everyone who plays tennis, juniors, for example, if they had to write a 3 or 4 sentence bio, that they're a student of the game. They're trying to improve their abilities as both a player and a teacher. But someone that one of our longtime associates knows well, Richard Hernandez. Richard Hernandez was a housemate of Stacey Allaster, who was a director, just retired director of the U.S. Open. And during the trophy presentations, the players were so nice and everyone paid tribute to her. But I think people should know that she started off as a tennis teacher. She worked with Richard Hernandez at the Richmond Hill Country Club. I have a few other things down here. She worked for the OTA. Obviously, she has credentials as well from the academic side. She has an undergraduate degree, a graduate degree, an MBA. But she started in sales with the Rogers Cup. And then she eventually was the CEO of the WTA. Then she had a CEO position with professional tennis with the USTA and then running the US Open. But I think being a tennis teacher is the easiest way to enter the profession. I don't think people do enough prep work to become a competent tennis teacher. Many times they just get the ball basket and go. But obviously, hats off to her and what she's done in her career, retiring. I would guess that she spent a lot of time in Michigan because she's from Windsor, Ontario, right there on the border. But what are your comments on that? All the people that you've introduced to tennis and all the people who work for you as tennis teachers, so many of them gone on and done other things in outside of tennis, but just outside of being on the court. What comes to your mind? Comment on that.
Yeah, I think that a majority of the people, and we've spoke about this before, I think that it's rare that you find somebody that kind of has that idea that, hey, I'm fine being on the court and being a coach the remainder of my career. And I think that a lot of people, try to migrate into various off-court roles. And, and I think that just like being an intern in terms of studying the art of teaching, coaching, I think that what I see is people don't do enough interning really to master a lot of off-court things, whether it's, managing the pro shop, learning financials. Those are all things that if people want to certainly get down the road in that direction, they're going to have to do a lot of work without pay to learn the skill sets initially. I've always felt it's easier to, if that's what people want to do, it's easier to do it at small clubs. And kind of where you have to do a little bit of everything. Not really that easy to do at a club like ours because there's, it's just kind of survival each day. But yeah, I found a lot of people about mid-30s explore other career paths. Some come back to tennis, some don't. But it's a great profession. I wish more of them would just kind of get in with the idea that they're not getting out.
Well, I do think, unfortunately, so many people get into tennis, but they don't want to be on the court. I've always said that there's a lot of people that are selling real estate that want to teach tennis, and a lot of people teaching tennis who want to sell real estate. But if you're not very good at teaching tennis, you're going to be looking at the clock. It's like when is this lesson over? When is the day over? But if you're skilled, just like in anything, I think there's an increased sense of enjoyment. With Scott Schultz, shortly after, I was fortunate enough to revise the recreation curriculum at Tyler Junior College in Tyler, Texas. Scott set up Ferris State, and it's not Grand Rapids, but Big Rapids, Michigan. And Scott invited me up to Lake Nona when there were more bulldozers and tennis balls. It was just being built. And it was interesting. There was the marketing consultant at the table. Three of us go out to lunch, and my memory, the woman worked for the Discovery Channel. And what they were asking me is, all the people that I trained to be tennis teachers, how did that help them in the business world? And if someone is a director at a club, there's so many hats they have to wear. First of all, they have to have a greeter mentality, just like someone at a hotel in Dublin, you're going to greet everybody who walks through the door, and, a little bit of charm, a little bit of charisma. You can just make a list of 10 different hats that a tennis director is going to wear. But also too, is that tennis teaching professionals, they meet so many business people, and if they have the right attitude and they have the right work ethic, they'll have the opportunity, if they wanted to, branch out, supplement their income through business, or even be a full-time entrepreneur and jump into the business world, like jumping in the middle of the swimming pool. But how to get trained, I do think that I really had nothing to do with Methodist College. Who's at a PTM program. Although in years gone by, I can remember contacting the director and letting them know all about our free content. I had more to do with Ferris State. I was up there 3 times. The school up in Michigan I mentioned that Scott Schultz set up. But I think both of those programs their history has been they're more heavy on the management side than the on-court side. But when we ran our program, it was just the opposite. We were stronger on the on-court side. There used to be some inside jokes that students from Ferris State, they'd get in some arguments about tennis teaching with people from our program, Tennis Tech, Tyler Junior College. And the Tennis Tech students had more information related to the court, the X's and O's and nuts and bolts. And one line was, I heard years later at my son's high school. It was Tampa Catholic versus Jesuit. And Tampa Catholic would score a touchdown, and the kids from Jesuit had a cheer, "It's okay, one day you'll work for us anyway." And that's what the Ferris Staters used to say to the Tennis Techers. "It's okay, one day you'll work for us anyway." Because they would be on the management side. Yeah, I do think it's a great entry point. And I think everyone who plays junior tennis, I learned this from a parent, Polish immigrant. His daughter's now a doctor. She went to Case Western in Michigan, and in Ohio, Case Western, Ohio. And, they have an outstanding tennis program. I know it was a year or two ago, they won the national championship. But his father used the term milestone. He wanted his daughter to become a certified licensed tennis teacher. And I do think that people that do that, they should be a pillar in society, a contributor, outstanding citizen, where they can give back to their community through tennis. So I don't think that people should think, well, if you're going to be a tennis teacher, that means you're in the hot sun hour after hour, maybe teaching some kids who don't even want to be there. But anyway, I just thought that that'd be an interesting thought to share, that Stacey Allaster, center stage worldwide, but she started off as a tennis teacher. I mean, obviously she was a junior prior to that. Let's just touch upon the Andy Fitzell story with Robert Cash and JJ Tracy. I know you and Andy connected at the Open. I think that's a double story that didn't get enough ink, didn't get enough love. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, having had the opportunity to talk to Andy up there, but then also to watch him go through one practice and then also play second round, I believe it was, whatever round they played Bopana. I thought they're an exciting team, fresh out of the NCAAs, and it was interesting to me how those two guys they captivated the crowds. I mean, it was like they were playing the NCAA, team championships, and the crowd just really, really was rallying behind those guys, and they were such great energy and so effective around the net in so many ways, and fearless. It was fun to watch. I mean, we watched them, all the way through the tournament till they got knocked out, and I wanted to see them go all the way, and they very well could have.
Yeah, they're a set away to get to the finals.
Yeah.
With hats off to Ohio State. My son Connor played under Ty Tucker at Ohio State years ago. Jeremy Wertzman, who we spent a lot of time with in his formative years, played at Ohio State. And at Ohio State, so many tennis players need that instilled to them throughout their junior years. But if they didn't get it as a junior, they definitely need to get it as a college player. The character 101, competitiveness. But Andy Fitzell, his connection to Ohio State started through my son Connor, and Connor climbed the ladder pretty quickly, where he ended up 200 ATP. He only played 3 years, but he went up pretty quickly, and then I can remember being with Andy. We were doing clinics, one in Cincinnati, then we're going to Philadelphia, then we're going to the US Open, and my son had a car that we had to pick up, and it had been there some time. So we drove from Cincinnati to Columbus to Philadelphia, left the cars in Philadelphia. Then Connor and I, after the Open, we drove the cars back to Florida. But long story short, I was there when Andy got the opportunity to work with J.J. Wolf, and that was before he went to Ohio State. He was still, he was really a multi-sport athlete, multiple sports, played soccer primarily, I would say. Then always played tennis throughout, but he wasn't a tennis kid per se. But Andy's documented all the development, J.J. Wolf, but then this kid, J.J. Tracy, if I was working with J.J. Tracy, I would tell people I taught him how to run. That guy has got some wheels.
Yeah, he can fly.
And then Robert Cash, he was in Orlando with his girlfriend. I was in Orlando, and Ty wanted to hook us up. And anyway, I said, well, we'll come and get you. I never worked with him, but I know Andy, I think it goes further back. He can tell us all this. We organized some questions. Goes back a little further working with JJ. But, people that I watched at the Open, I think Austin Krajicek, poor Austin, he had a very, very poor day at the office. Prior to Wimbledon, he had won three events, and then Wimbledon didn't go as well. I think of last summer, Krajicek was it was really a medal match because it was the Olympics, and if you won it, you were assured to get a silver. But he played against Alcaraz and Nadal,
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm a big Rajiv Ram fan. Ram probably had the worst 12 minutes of his career in that match. I watched your student, who I've met many years ago and know so much about her upbringing, Ashlyn Kruger. I watched her play doubles. In my notes here, I've got down Lannis Hamilton, who's now at UNC and was ranked really high in the NCAAs. And I guess it wasn't a wild card, but won the college playoff, perhaps it was called.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I didn't watch Maggie Sones. I still have that down in my notes as I want to go back to the archives and watch. She played the junior doubles at 14. She was there this summer, played at 15. But to just have those four, I mean, I go back to Austin. It's just the way it works out. Rob Krajicek would know more about what we do than Austin Krajicek. It's just like I always tell people about Lynette Federer with Roger. If you want to ask what Roger was doing when he was 8, Lynette was the one who was a volunteer tennis teacher, and she was taking the lessons. But yeah, I mean, Andy showed me some practice drills they're doing at the Open. What are your thoughts on watching the practice he ran?
Well, the first thing that jumped out was, and they were, with another doubles team on the other side, and they had their coach, and so it had to be kind of, coordinated to some degree with the other side of the court. But the first thing that really hit me instantly when I walked up was these two guys were so good at receiving information, and the way they listened to Andy, the way they, eyeball to eyeball, and it was, it was like two guys, 30 seconds left in a basketball game, and the coach has got everybody in a huddle, and they were really good at that. It stood out. They didn't look like your typical tennis players in that regard. And whether they had that as kids or whether they were drilled in at Ohio State, or I couldn't tell you. But I thought it was really cool to see. The other thing that I know Andy spoke about some of the technical changes they're making here and there, but he was really, in my opinion, one of the few people. I mean, he had an iPad out there, and he was behind the play going on, and then periodically just showing a little film here and there, and that's not happening often. It was fun to watch. I like I said, I love doubles anyways, and I could watch guys like that play doubles 24/7 because of the juice they bring.
Yeah, going forward, it's sad to see that the art of playing what we would call, or Martina Radulova call it, real doubles, serving and going forward. Getting ahead of myself in my notes. One thing during the men's final, the comments they were making on the technology, not so much the rackets, but the strings.
Mm-hmm.
And then the speed of the ball, the speed of the game. What are your thoughts on that as far as equipment?
Yeah, I mean, I remember, obviously it's had some impact on it, I'm certain, and but I can't remember what year it was, but I think it was Sampras and maybe Philippoussis. They played an exhibition at Madison Square Garden, and they used a couple of, really strong wood rackets in that. And I remember their serve speed barely dropping off relative to what, what it was with their graphite. And I think the strings probably have impacted a little, but I don't see that as the factors. I do think the courts up there at the Open were extremely fast compared to what these guys play on year round. And what they're playing on year round is definitely gritty and slow and changes a little bit about how people go about it. But to me, I think technology, yes. I think court surface has really altered things. I think they've just slowed the courts down so much overall in so many parts of the year. And it's had a pretty good impact on, I think, how people perceive tactics.
Yeah, that's something we could ask Andy. I mean, we could certainly get into brain typing, the tactics, being at the Open, and, how much interference there is with, other coaches. I know Matt Clores had so much to do with this when he was traveling with Mackenzie McDonald. You just have these TV celebrities like a Brad Gilbert or John McEnroe coming up. Andy with Burrell, Kimberly Burrell, the Aussie. He said the same thing, that coached there for a long time. And all the Aussies come up, and especially the ones that are there and they're connected with TV. Or I'm always saying it makes no sense for everybody to put in their own 2 cents. But I think at one point with Andy, very lighthearted, easygoing guy, great sense of humor. But when he's in a setting like that, he just tells people like it is. So he could share some of those stories with you or with us. He had a lot to do with our free content, still does, but he tired of how many times can you answer the same dumb question. I tease, and Weston Fairchild, where I heard this the first time, he had a teacher who used to use this line. Kid asks a question, and they ask a dumb question. You say, there's no such thing as a dumb question, just a dumb kid who asks the question. No such thing as a dumb question, just a question asked by a dumb kid. Ron White, the comedian, you just can't fix stupid. But if you just listen to, say, a Roger Federer, is that if you can't volley, you're not going to go to the net.
Yeah.
But young kids in their formative years, just do the right thing. So Austin, to me, and I saw Raven Klassen, somebody else who's played a lot of doubles, spent a lot of years with us, is I've asked Raven, I've asked Austin, basically, I mean, never is a strong word, but they didn't play throughout their junior days. They didn't play one up, one back. They were going from the very, very beginning. And I think someone with Ashton Kruger watching her is that I'm telling people to just play singles only, that they should still play ghost doubles in practice.
Yeah.
Develop their double skills. But I
think just get some reps.
Yeah, to be acrobatic, the agility at the net. Hamilton would be someone who, I remember Cole Reeves having her play with a wooden racket, or playing where she had to serve and volley every ball in her junior days. And but once you stop, you stop. I mean, I do think that so many young people are told, well, you can't play that way in today's game. It's singles as well. You got to crush and crush. There's no crush and rush. With the chip and charge, the understand backhand should have never really been called the chip. I mean, chips are for parties, but that's Andy told me that he had a chance to talk to Navratilova, and we say it all the time. She was in 9 Wimbledon finals, and you get a tennis group together. Can they name 9 players who mastered that shot, or even sometimes use that shot since she retired? But moving on, another story. Get Max Fomin. Max Fomin is a Russian. He's from the former Soviet Union. You have to be careful when you say Russian. He definitely speaks Russian. But he was in Canada. And when I had my kids up in Canada playing ice hockey, I based myself out of the Richmond Hill Country Club. And that's where he was. So during his childhood days, I recently saw him in Miami. But he was with Amanda Anisimova. Can you say that correctly?
Yeah, Anisimova.
And it'd be good to talk to him, because I don't think people enough hear the backstory and know what the child did. I know her father, obviously passed away now, had so much to do with her tennis. But what a great ball striker. I mean, I think once you see it, you can't unsee it. But people who, if they understand fundamentals, they can see so many things from, the big 3 shots, or serve, and the forehand side, the backhand side, both those wings which turn into the return of serve. I think one thing we could do would be fun to talk about all the former players that are in attendance. With Djokovic, 39, he's 38. He's in the semis. Connors is watching. But in 91, when Connors was 39, got out to the finals, played Courier. Courier lost to Edberg that year, but Jim Courier, he ruined the party. That was like one of the most exciting fortnights U.S. Open history. But just watching Djokovic, he said it at least twice that I heard, as well, I'm not a natural serve and volleyer, so I really can't play short points. And that would be something you look back upon, is that if maybe he won't have 24 majors, but if he'd played doubles, if he'd gone to the net more now in the twilight of his career, this year, amazing. 4 tournaments, 4 semis.
Mm-hmm.
That's a career year. People would dream of being able to say I was in the semis 4 times. I think a player like Wally Masur, I know you and I met him years ago. I think he got to the quarters of all 4. You see that sometimes, of all the majors, got out some players that, like they do it at Wimbledon, where you're in the last 8 club. But let's talk a little bit about the men's final.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, yeah. Well, I think the whole world, when they see those 2 names lined up in the finals of a slam, it's great for tennis. And I think that it's interesting to me, the lessons that I was trying to teach a few of the kids in the academy from this particular final. I said, tennis isn't all about, people have a tough time taking their highs and their lows and kind of treating them the same, like the facing, the sign as you walk through the center court Wimbledon, victory and defeat. People, I feel that's really hard for people in this day and time. And you back the clock up 12 months ago, and I was at the Open then too, and I remember sitting in Ash watching Alcaraz play a qualifier, and he was just a shadow of himself. Not much joy, very little outward desire, it looked like, to even be on the court at that time. And the willpower to get back and have a great year this year and do everything he's done. And that was the resilience throughout the journey, because the journey is long. And then for Sinner, I said this with a group of kids and parents, if they lose match points in the finals of a tournament much smaller than the French Open, the whole wheel is reinvented. Typically the process day in and day out has to change. The coach gets the grilling, there's a sports psychologist hired. There's all of these things that are made adjustments, and these guys just, they persevere. Your words, start the course, stay the course. Well, they stay the course incredibly well, and that's a tribute to both of them in their own way. And I didn't think the tennis was outstanding by any means, but there's never a guarantee on that. I do think Sinner had a horrible service day relative to him, potentially how he could have served or how he typically manages his serve through the match. But again, I think that the inability, you really saw it in the first set. I remember watching the first few games, and I thought to myself, boy, he's going to have to break his comfort zone and really step up and into the court and play some forward tennis. But I'm not sure he's capable of it completely. And, but great for the sport. The match, maybe didn't have the drama of the few of them that they played, but, I was there from beginning to end on it. And I think it's just incredible to see what a class act Sinner is in his defeat, still giving the speech that he gave, and I think Alcaraz, hats off to him. I picked Alcaraz. I didn't pick Alcaraz in 4. I actually thought it might even be a 3-setter, but this rivalry reminds me of Federer and Nadal, and Fed dominating the world, but just not able to really own Nadal. So it'll be a good one. I'm anxious to see where it goes.
Here are a few thoughts. I told a group of coaches and players this morning, when the match is over, it's over. But, the on-court speech, when they hand out the trophy, you can at least go to the press interview, go to YouTube, and wrote notes from Sinner. I was too predictable. I need to make changes. I'm a good player. I'm a solid baseliner. I need to add to my game. I need to make changes. I need to get better. That's verbatim. So powerful. Yeah, the forehand volley's got an extra segment. Definitely, Alcaraz said they had studied the Wimbledon tape. The numbers were terrible for not just on the serving side at Wimbledon, but the net appearances were flip flopped.
Yeah.
I do think that the Alcaraz camp took into consideration. Andy Fitzell mentioned that on a previous podcast. Dimitrov and how the underspin backhand was very effective against Sinner. Sinner does have an extra segment on his forehand, but people aren't pressing it. Like say a great player, great personality, Francis Tiafoe. He's grown up in an era where people aren't really challenging him on the forehand side. Let's see you pass me down the line. Let me see you pass me across court. And when you do it, I'll clap my hand to my racket and applauding your effort, but I'm coming right back in. A lot of kids don't have very good passing shots because they're never hitting passing shots. But I think it's interesting to say he also said he needed to do a couple of things better on his serve. He didn't say exactly what, but so the forehand has an extra segment. It could be challenged. I do think that Alcaraz did that by being more aggressive. Still think that Ivan Osirets, Alcaraz 1 and Alcaraz 2, Alcaraz 1 who chooses to be aggressive. And granted, there's certainly some times to play the drop shot because people are just back ready to launch a forehand missile, and then you hit a drop shot, they're on their heels. And I do think and we call the drop shot, should hit it as an imitation shot. You're trying to bring them up to the net, get them off balance. They just push the ball back, and then you win from there. You don't win outright with a drop shot. And the drop shot actually goes much higher over the net than most people even think. But Sinner's, it cost him he doesn't serve and volley, and his backhand volley is still a liability. You actually can say this is, Serena Williams is so great, but you think of the weakness. Serena, little palm up, a late contact point on the overhead, but such an amazing athlete. Who wins, the superior athlete with inferior skills or the superior tennis player with inferior athletic skills? So, a lot of times the physical specimen, the competitor wins. So once again, winning is confusing. But I do think to go back to the drawing board, to listen, everybody and their brother has a podcast now, and to hear that, the research or the resource for helping Sinner on the serve is watching Isner. What a compliment to Isner. Does have great serve. But we'd think there'd just be a little more nuts and bolts on how to improve his serve. But so good. And he is just what he said. Predictable, solid baseliner. He also said about Alcaraz, he can do everything. And then Alcaraz was asked about his own game. He said from a very, very young age, variety. He says it like 3 or 4 times. It's pretty easy to pick up because of just the way he pronounces the word in his second language. But I think Djokovic said this. Let me get to that comment next, but I think that Alcaraz has really been a copy of Federer's game, Nadal's game, and Djokovic's game all in one. And then what Novak said about Alcaraz, he said he has the best of all of the three, including himself. He said fundamentals or foundation for me, finesse from Federer, and mental toughness from Nadal. His serve was much better. I didn't really pay that much attention on the technical side. Is he going forward more? Is it toss further in front? Does he have left chain puller where the elbow goes down and back up? But I read this and heard this. Every other slam, and now he's got 6. He's in the same company as Becker and Edberg at age 22. Only Borg won more at that age. So we're also very fortunate to be living at a time where we can watch Alcaraz play tennis. But every other slam that he won, he was broken at least 11 times. And there's 3 slams where he's broken over 20 times. And in this slam, he's only broken 3 times. And the only other person, according to the article I read, was Sampras. So he's in very good company with Borg and Sampras. Actually, to correct myself, you're not really supposed to say slam. It's a major. He won a Grand Slam. A Grand Slam is winning all 4. Actually, someone who you hosted at your school, Petrus Kukimore.
Yeah.
He doesn't pronounce his name as well as we do, but Nelsbury, I believe that's where Drysdale's from. Did you see the tribute to Cliff Drysdale?
Yeah.
That was first class, huh?
Yeah. He's quite a guy. I mean, he's been here a few times. His son worked here in the academy years ago. I remember Billy Freer just talking about Cliff, saying any big point he ever played him his entire life. The guy just returning was just unbelievable. 2-handed backhand, back in an era where it wasn't that common, and quite a competitor.
I saw him play, tell the story all the time, playing Nastase, and he started coming on Nastase's second serve. Then he started coming on Nastase's first serve. And then Nastase, who won the match, waved his finger and said, no. Now I'm coming in. You have to wait for the ball to bounce. It's interesting how he's referred to as a techie. He worked with Braden for so many years, and Vic was really sounded out. They said they wanted Vic. Vic was always frustrated. They wanted him to, be the funny guy that he was, instead of trying to educate the viewer. Where they refer to him as a technician. They show a couple before and afters, or how they used to hit a backhand, now how they hit a backhand. But no, I think that was a great tribute. Now he got in the tennis teaching business. Does he have any operations in Dallas?
Not in Dallas, but in Tyler, obviously. He started small, and now he's branched out. He's got things going on everywhere, and they took over what used to be Tyler Tennis and Swim, and now it's the Tyler Racket Club, and moved it to a different part of the city and built a heck of a club. But I'm not certain. I think in Houston, maybe, and I'm not certain if they have something in Austin, which I would bet they do, because he has ties to that area. But he's a sharp guy. Billy Freer used to always tell me, that he had a lot of respect for Cliff's business mind.
Just think about so many successful South Africans, that the alphabet soup, you go to the WTT, the ATP, the WTA, the USPTA, the PTR. At one point, I think it's a pretty safe bet that you'd say that at one point all the organizations that I just listed off were run by a South African.
Mm-hmm.
The CEO of his company spent, roughly 2 days, not 2 full days. It was supposed to be longer, but his daughter is a really good athlete, good soccer player. She was given an opportunity to be a walk-on with Dave Secker at NC State. So I was just a messenger. So she was sent. We do a technical video, and CEO. So he's used to being in charge of people. I mean, he argued every point I made, and I just remember said, Cliff Drysdale is my best buddy. We play golf every day, and I say, well, I said, you talk about this, that, and the other thing from a technical standpoint in tennis, but I said, I'm just a messenger. I'm going to make this tape, and then I'm going to give it to the people at NC State, and they're going to tell you to do what's on this tape. But I know that the company, they took over PBI and a couple other.
Yeah, I think they're all under the umbrella of Troon now, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and they, your company now called Invited. I think you're number 2 now as far as controlling how many courts a company controls.
Yeah, I think the number of courts worldwide, I think Invited used to be control more courts, but I think Troon now, but the gray area is Troon is a management company where Invited actually owns the facilities.
But come back to the video analysis for this dad who has a lifetime in tennis, both on the court and off the court, we were referring to earlier. He did send his son back, so that was interesting. But his son came with his girlfriend, and I don't think you need to bring your girlfriend to a session where you're gonna have your forehand and backhand broken down. But
especially by you.
and that is in the teen, and you're a teenager as well. With back to the Alcaraz, he also mentioned that they really studied the Wimbledon tape. Makes you wonder, because that wasn't really the best performance, and then Wimbledon's over, and next thing you know, the U.S. Open rolls around, and he definitely played much better. I know in a previous podcast we were beating up his box for things that were being yelled out and what he was doing and too much coaching. And I think one other thing that he mentioned too for tennis parents listening is smiling. My grandfather used to always say that when people would leave, he'd say, keep smiling. My father, his sign off was drive slow. People would leave, just, hey, drive slow. But he said, Alcaraz, smiling, paraphrasing, it helps me not to be nervous. It helps with the mental part. It reminds me it's supposed to be fun. It's just such powerful comments. They asked him about the one match play, and Sinner hit a backhand return 87 miles an hour for a winner. And in the interview, that was at the ESPN panel, not the trophy presentation, but the panel, he said, I was so scared. We had that first match point. But boy, they're both great for tennis. I know a lot of people still are, upset with the slap on the hand that Sinner. It wasn't really that heavy a penalty. But I do think that certainly people are right where they say he's such a good guy.
He sure seems like he is.
Yeah, very mature and very, very humble. Let me ask you about the players that are watching. I do think that people are so positive, and people, edify the player or edify the place. And I mean, it's like they show a Billie Jean King, they show Martina Navratilova, they show, as I mentioned, Connors. Just so many, icons or legends of the game. I think that if you watch, like, say, Lindsay Davenport, hats off to her. Mary Jo Fernandez, I would say it's different. Both their children, both have sons, are great tennis players. But to see Davenport, who married into the Leach family, and the son's playing one up, one back doubles, or, to have such an extreme grip. I mean, they are good enough, just like their parents. They're under a microscope. They're on center stage. There's nowhere to hide. And it's not a matter of being criticism. It's not criticism. It's not being critical. It's just being curious. What are your thoughts on the pros? Do you think the pros look at the game and are just awestruck, or think that they could add to their games?
Yeah, it's funny because, Jenna, my wife, asked me, what do you think Billie Jean King's saying? And, you don't know. I think there's no doubt there's tremendous respect for the attributes that are pretty obvious with athletic ability in terms of physicality of some of these players and the ball speed. But to me, there's got to be, I would say with 100% a player like Billie Jean King, Martina, they showed Connor's facial expressions a few times. He looked like he was feeling the match. And when I made that comment about Sinner, trust me, if anybody, our house is pro Sinner, and but you think of Jimmy Connors when he said he should have played like that his whole career, in his incredible run at the Open, and he was just going forward, trying to shorten points more. And I think that Sinner, in his post-match interview, obviously is aware that he'll go at it. I really believe the guy will alter his tactics and become a little more rounded. And but I hope he does it and really does it. I think Djokovic did it very slowly and maybe not completely. But I think those players, yeah, without a doubt, if they were just had permission to speak freely and not really worry about anything, that they would probably say there's holes that need to be addressed or could be addressed to make the player a better player. I think that everybody just thinks the game is like completely different now than it was then. Like it's not tennis anymore, but it's still tennis. And, it's just about a player becoming the best they can be. And are they on that path or not? And do they have holes or not? It's pretty objective. It's nothing to do with, hating somebody or liking somebody. It's just, it's pretty objective vantage point, really. And somebody can't do something, they can't do it. There's a lot of players that are out there playing the U.S. Open that, if it were basketball, they really can't, dribble effectively to one side with a particular hand and improvise and do certain things that, most of the players in the NBA can, without exception. But I think when one dimension goes up against one dimension repeatedly on the other side, it just doesn't maybe come out as much to the average person watching.
Jenna, it escapes me. I did come up, I think, with a clever pat myself on the back acronym, just enduring Anderson. Anyway, I think what her comment makes me think of is, what are they saying? But more importantly, what are they thinking?
Yeah.
Tell me what you're thinking. I mentioned this young guy, Petrus, from the same hometown as Drysdale. I know he and a few others, he was always asking me, what are you thinking? Versus what are you saying? It makes you wonder, like a Bob Bryan, who's so positive when he's watching doubles. One time he was at the NCAAs and, I was thinking, I guess I'm getting old or I've been in the sun too long, where, he was quoted saying, the doubles is great. It's great to see everybody coming forward. I'm going, what's he watching? I think he's just being very positive, where it's like, come on, guys. But you go back to like the Fed when he had those 2 match points at Wimbledon many years ago. Yeah. Someone gets a green light point, just a language that we've acquired by doing a lot of homework from Carlos Goffey, who worked with Bill Jacobson. It's a green light point. You're ahead by 2 or more points. You're up 40 love. You're serving. Okay, you're not a natural volleyer, but hit a body serve, come in. I tell you, 12 and unders all the time, the parents, if you did that, no one would even know you did it. They wouldn't even know you're doing it. You know, you serve and volley, but you don't do it unless it's 40 love. And then you serve to the middle so they don't have angle. But yeah, and watching Connors, I just think, and he was out there, one thing, again, I think is reinforcement. From the Braden Library, there was a letter written to Gideon Ariel and Vic. It was Gloria Connors thanking them for helping Jimmy with his serve. Jimmy, with his pride, he didn't like the fact that Braden said, well, Jimmy, his serve goes 72 miles an hour, but his grunt goes 104. It just shows you how good he was without a serve. You and I know Robbie Seguzo, they had that the team championship in Dusseldorf, and Robbie's giving Connors a hard time. Connors is talking to him about the doubles, and he looks at him and he goes, you don't even play doubles. But Connors with Nastasi, he had won the Wimbledon title and the U.S. Open title. There just so much money came into it that they stopped playing doubles. But I think also too, now that there's the speed of the ball is faster and they're pounding on hard court. I can understand where they don't step up to the plate and play doubles. But once again, I said it earlier, but I can't understand where they take doubles training out of tennis. What about the women's match? What are your thoughts on Sabalenka and Anisimova?
Yeah, I think again the before the finals, and the example of perseverance and the journey and the ups and downs, and Anisimova coming off, what many people would deem a humiliating. You heard everybody talking about her loss at Wimbledon to Swiatek, and then to reverse that match just a few weeks later, and getting there to that second final. But the semis to me was just so many stories to teach kids. People just get so discouraged after they're so dramatic after losses, and their inability to move on, I think, really affects their quality of their journey and their willingness to learn and grow. And but when she was there, I mean, I was excited about watching the match, because when I was in San Jose with Ashlyn Kruger years ago, her first, she got a wild card into a WTA 500. Now it's held at back in Washington, but it used to be the Bank of the West out there at Palo Alto, and so her first match right out of the gates was Anisimova, and man, I mean, the backhand side is just a thing of beauty. Their forehand side is very close too. It actually seems like it's gotten better, in my opinion, from back then. Getting a little bit more top on the ball, more below the ball, swinging a little more vertically. What a serve! She could definitely alter it, like, in that quest to be the best that you can be. There's so much, but yeah, I think Sabalenka is just she's learned to thrive on adversity for sure. I don't know that it's been an overnight thing for sure with her, but her ability to just thrive on the adversity, I think she's trained herself to get way, way better at that in the course of her years on the tour. But physical specimen, and so many positives in the way that I just love the way when you see people swing out on big points, whether it was Sinner at match point, backhand return up the line, Sabalenka just unloading on a cross court backhand one time, clipping the line on a huge point, a very pivotal point. I think that, fortune favors the bold, and they definitely, those players definitely have that quality.
With Amanda, for every junior tennis player, if anybody's ever picked up a racket, first of all, it was a Wimbledon final, but she got beat 6-0, 6-0. And I didn't see any of that match where she beat Swiatek. I've looked at the YouTube highlights and such, and you need to go back and spend more time watching that. But what a great turnaround. You could see on the stage, I mean, obviously losing that US Open final, I mean, those players get that level are just so competitive. I tell people I've met a lot of top 10 players in the world, but I think at Welby Van Horn, whatever city he would go to, he'd rock up at the putt-putt, and he would ask, what is the best course record here? He'd stay there till he beat it. You know, you and I both know Carleen Bassett. You know, she's going to hit a golf ball and run underneath it. She's going to run after it. I used to hang out with Wayne Sabin. I mean, that guy was so competitive. First time I ever played doubles, I let a ball bounce and I hit it to the outside for a winner. And he's just you know, he was an old man at that time. It was just some pickup doubles. He just started swearing at me like a sailor. My son Connor, here's a put you on the spot a question. Zverev, we got to the French final. What was her first name? Really good doubles player. Played a lot with Gigi Fernandez. What was her first name?
Natasha Zverev.
Yeah. So my son Connor's in Berlin practicing, and you know, it's just this lady I'm practicing with is really good, and she lost 0-0 to Graf at the French Open final. You know, I'm always telling people, you lose 0-0. I say, okay, hold up 4 fingers with your left hand, hold up 2 fingers with your right hand. Okay, 4-2. Now, fair enough. Did you get 2 points per game? If you get 2 points per game and they're getting 4, you're going to get beat 6-0, 6-0. But if you get 1 point better out of the 6, you improve 17% and you're dead even. The scoring system can really, you know, people need to look at the point differentiation and instead of just like the set score. With Sabalenka, obviously moves better, bigger, stronger. Maybe not bigger. They're both, as Mary Carrillo would say, big mamas. But again, both players. I know Sabalenka is very self-critical. She has improved from the service line in, but still also that not developing double skills, not playing doubles. No, I think coming back to Kruger, I know I talked about it offline, is I'd get her a trampoline. You know, she quit playing doubles, is get into just some tumbling and being more acrobatic and bending, and because she has the ball striking skills. And then obviously you've been telling her this for years, and under your watch she became so good. But she's got another comment you make is Back to the Future. But I think if people just to throw their name in the hat to play doubles and again, not to win, you know, that's where people get cross-eyed, is that, you know, winning is the curse. Throughout junior tennis, winning is the curse. Winning will take care of itself. Winning is a byproduct of skills. Anything else on that women's match or any other comments in general?
With Sabalenka, I went to the practice courts to watch whenever I could too. And, you know, it was interesting because, you know, everybody else was getting kind of groove hits and that. And she was doing a lot of basket work. And you know, it was the work that I saw her doing was really on transition volleys, kind of coming in, traditional ones. She had a few swing volleys as well. But in particular, high backhand volley and coming forward and then, you know, really responding off of that, trying to play an overhead. And, you know, it was very deliberate. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't panicky. And the other thing, you know, that I remember hearing a year and a half ago about her, and it was very evident, at least in this particular workout that I watched, where, you know, the time, even though it was only 2 balls, maybe 3, she would kind of go between points almost like it was a ritual, or go between, you know, during the drill. It was a very calm, methodical approach, in other words, in my opinion. You know, she wasn't just banging groundies and getting that. I'm sure she does that as well. But in this workout that I did catch, it really caught my eye.
Yeah, I'll mention again, a clip was sent to me where she was on the key practice courts right there by the players' lounge. And she was hitting just left-handed forehands. Just hitting left-handed forehands. But yeah, I think we come back to the U.S. Open with that. A Cinderella story with Annie Fitzell and Ty Tucker's boys from Ohio State. That was really interesting. And I think with what's that?
That'll be fun to hear.
Yeah, I think with Max Fomine, with you can see the listeners, if you're studying tennis technique and you're studying efficiency and you want to have swings that are matched on the shape of the court. The girl who grew up in New Jersey, Amanda, she's a very good model to watch as far as stroke production. Efficiency, the economy motion, least amount of moving parts, least amount of muscle recruitment. Has very good basic swings. Anything else on the US Open while we have you on the phone?
No, I love it. It, I always, like you, watch a lot of it and feel fortunate to be able to go up and watch it live. And it's a great time of the year. I always have that kind of post major tennis hangover afterwards, but starting to get back in balance now a little bit.
I got the popcorn going, and I don't know, we had 6 to 8 people, players and coaches, and how could you not watch it? 2 rooms where they're right really next to each other. You walk through, they have these huge TVs, and sit back. You could chart, just sit back and watch, but you just think, men or women, it's the best 2 players on that given day in the world, and let's just appreciate. I can understand, like I was telling a dad today, it was in a group meeting. I said, there's just no way that I would have ever missed like the Stanley Cup final. Everybody would just be glued to the TV. But I do think with technology now, people say, well, I can go back and watch it on film. But for me, I don't think there's any substitute for watching it live.
I'd agree totally. Being present when it's happening, even if it's in front of a TV, I don't think it's there is no substitute for it.
Another thing is students of the game, you can go to YouTube and you can watch the match, and we could guess, well, you could watch it in 28 minutes. It's just a guess. But you can watch the matches, and it's just point. There's no in between. 70% of the time when they're playing, they're not playing. So you can watch the match very quickly, and to watch. And we're telling juniors, hey, watch 10 points chart. I thought with the Canadian AFF, give us that pronunciation, David. Alex.
Felix Auger-Aliassime.
There you go. I saw him play when he was 13 over in Europe, and I thought they were just really, from his camp, where he was competitive with center. He took the set. It was just like a bowling pin. Up the middle, singles or doubles solves a riddle. Because when you're playing people who move so great, it's like Bob Brett told Robbie Seguso when he was playing Jimmy Connors, and he beat Jimmy Connors at Wimbledon. He said, whatever you do, don't make him run. Just go right at him. It's kind of like the rope-a-dope with Muhammad Ali and George Foreman. And really, there's not that much room out there anyway. And with, I would say, I need to do this is go back, and as great as that match was, I know you've already made the comment that it wasn't the best that the 2 have played. It was different as far as Alcaraz playing it more, and as he said, being more consistent, making consistency the most important thing instead of playing to the crowd and hitting fancy shots. And but with that, same old is that there should have been more all court play, and I think that's where the lesson is that. We're using different words, but when Center is saying I'm too predictable, another way to say that is he's one-dimensional. But the ball striking is spectacular, and Alcaraz is so fast. Today we did the beep test, and I tell kids, hey, when you're picking balls up, run like an Olympian. And Roger Federer, the best movers are the best players. The Russian formula for fitness is you're going to be, I should say the Russian formula for mental toughness is you're going to be mentally tough based on how hard you work physically. I think that's another thing too, is that Joe Public, when they're watching those practice sessions at the US Open, when you watch a Federer, and I've talked to people who, were fortunate enough to fly overseas and practice with Federer, two players, one for 4 hours in the morning, one for 4 hours in the afternoon. But when you're watching people practice on the show courts, that's not necessarily how they practice when they're home off the tour.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about it. That's just a glimpse of players getting match ready in most cases.
Well, I think we can sign off, but I think one thing with this podcast is we've been too much like TV tennis, where you're just talking about the very best players. And I certainly spent time going from you just get on ESPN, you watch all the junior matches, the wheelchair matches, and there's just so much of it. But what a celebration for tennis. But I think that people just need to be reminded, the attitude of the household, the lifestyle. I mean, to get on top and be able to play at that level, it's not a fantasy for those people. I mean, it's a fact that, accomplishing your dreams is a nightmare of work. How hard they work to get to that level. So, I mean, someone who you developed, Ashlyn Kruger, back to the drawing board and, to get to what has been the highest 31 in the world?
28, I think.
28. And, what does she have to do to just, and she's close. I mean, but I think that she should take a time out and listen to what Sinner's saying. I need to get better. I need to do this differently and that differently. And then also too, is that, the term style comes up. I think that might be a good comment to end on, is the term style comes up with Alcaraz. I mean, people who know tennis and are taking shots at what we do will say, oh, what they do, it's not stylistic. And, I've always said when people walk across the campus, fortunately, they don't have to, some people do. I mean, they may have to drag the right leg, drag the left leg, but it's just right foot, left foot, right foot, left foot. And that's how people walk. People definitely have their own style when they walk, but squaring that racket face up at the hit, making shots. A Braden philosophy is you got to hit every shot from every position on the court, any surface, singles or doubles. But I think with Alcaraz, not to put him ahead of the women, but he's just so good. Gretchen Rush, who was 12 in the world and works up here at Wintergreen in Virginia. I remember her saying about Jimmy Connors, she just couldn't take her eyes off Connors. But Alcaraz is a package. He's just a complete package. Amazing. David, thanks for your time sharing tennis thoughts with our listeners. I hope our listeners got something out of it, and we'll be back next week.
Awesome. See you on the court.
All right. David, thanks.
Okay.
Everybody helping us with the podcast, thanks. Phil and Yvonne, and listeners, thank you. Adios, amigos. Another podcast.
Have a good night.
All right, good night.
Bye-bye.